like and subscribe. In my experience, most guys that are giants, huge muscle bound and or naturally big and tall guys, are some of the nicest and truly wholesome guys I've ever met. Why is that? What makes men that are giant sized such good all around guys? And, of course, there are exceptions. I've also been around the stereotypical over-aggressive types that too hopped up on testosterone. But for the most part, I've met gentle giants. Is this your experience as well? When you're a bigger guy, you learn that you have to be very approachable in order to avoid intimidating people. I am 6'3", 250 and all my life I was told that I could hurt others because I am bigger than them. Everywhere I went I was seen as a thug or a scary guy. I hated how people would look at me. I would do anything I could to prove their assumptions of me wrong. I'd say yes ma'am/sir, please and thank you, and give a genuine smile and handshake when greeting people. After a while this just became who I was. It felt foreign not being that way. The biggest dog in the park does not need to bark. There are a few flavors. The most common to I see are: it's easy to be nice, because if anyone decides to get real mean I'll be better at it than them anyway. Another is guys that spend their whole lives being seen as a threat, and develop a whole suite of no really, I'm nice signals to counter that impression. The latter is mostly guys that have always been big and there is crossover between the two. Big guy here. Don't get too comfortable, always remember vertical bar, there is always a bigger fish. At 6 feet 7 inches 225 most people look up to me, so I got to set a good example. There's my dad joke for the evening, but in all seriousness, last thing most sane people wanna do is pick a fight with the biggest guy. Goes against human nature. As far as the gentleness, why be aggressive? We've already got a leg up on most. No natural predators. Also no stress from manlets. I'm 6 feet and fit, so I'm not Brock Lesnar or anything. You don't have to worry about much, and you are very secure in yourself and your body. You also have nothing to prove to anyone. Most of the overly aggressive guys I've met have deeply rooted emotional problems, drinking problems or massive baggage, chips on their shoulders or serious insecurities and feelings of inadequacy about themselves. A friend of a friend is like this. He's incredibly nice, soft-spoken, and calm. He's 7 feet 4, and to my best guess, at least 300 pounds, probably closer to 350. We were all in a poorly lit bar years ago, and someone was giving him a hard time for having a baby face. He does though, and they wouldn't stop. He just stood up, put his hand on the guy's shoulder, and said something like, "I don't know you well enough for you to talk to me like this. Please stop." He's never been in a fight though. The guy picking on him was my height. 5 feet 10 long. I am 6'4" 235 lbs. You guys are saying it. No one stresses me out, because I am confident that, if push comes to shove, I like my odds. So, I am laid back and easygoing most of the time. Confidence is silent. Insecurity is loud. I'd say it is the same reason, if you have met someone that actually knows how to fight, MMA, boxing, wrestling etc. 90% of the time they are super down to earth and humble guys. They don't need to go around eyeing and puffing their chest out trying to prove how tough they are. They are secure in their ability to handle themselves. Not saying big bodybuilder types know how to fight, some cannot fight their way out of a wet paper bag. But against the average build Joe that does not train, they know they are at an advantage. Generally speaking, people do not with them, instead they are careful around them, so they don't develop the defense mechanism other guys do. But there are too many exceptions to really be a stereotype. I'd like to think I meet all the qualifications of this description. I found that my life has always been a lot easier than most men who aren't as big and bad looking as me. I intentionally made friends with the smallest guys in school, you know, look after them, Make sure they aren't getting mistreated. I got to see how much harder things could be for them. People spoke to them in ways no one has ever dared speak to me. And I think that's all it comes down to. A lot of men need to puff up their chest, or find another defense mechanism, to avoid making themselves a target. I never had to. I can be openly emotional and friendly, etc., and no asshole out there has the balls to call me out on it. It's just easier being a big guy, at least in my experience. And it's a lot easier to be kind and good to people, when the world hasn't given you as many reasons not to be. I've been 6'3" since I was 10 years old. Massive growth spurt over the summer, had my parents freaking out. My mom was 6'1" for context. Anyway, imagine walking into my new 5th grade classroom all excited to start school, meet the new teacher, and play on the playground with my buddies like I used to. We were all in 5th grade now, so we were gonna run elementary school. Then when I walked in there was dead silence. Everybody was staring at me, like I was a monster. The teacher asked me if she could help me, sir. And I showed her my paperwork, and told her I was supposed to be in this class. Nobody recognized me, not my old friends, nobody. The teacher in her heels didn't come up to my shoulders. I could literally look down on the top of her head. I saw the looks on everyone's faces and they were scared of me. It's a feeling I never forgot. It turns out I wasn't the only giant that summer. A black guy named Philip also had a massive growth spurt, and he and I were the same height, so even though we didn't know each other before really well, we became buddies. He ate up the basketball court and I sucked at the game, but I was much stronger than him, so football and weights became my thing. When you're larger than everybody else, you learn to keep a friendly smile on your face, make direct eye contact, and make a lot of noise when you approach, so that you don't scare people by sneaking up on them. And also don't have a loud voice, because they'll think you're mad and going to rip their arms off. That's why big guys have such a friendly demeanor, because we don't want people to take one quick unknowing look at us and decide to move away from the big guy. That hurts our feelings, yeah. It's gotten much better into adulthood, but the lessons learned early in childhood stick with you about how to interact with others. Because most of us were picked on for being bigger. Because we aren't angry about being short. I have never quite understood that mindset. The whole "I'm the biggest dog in the park." If the big man is pleasant and respectful, I will reciprocate. If it is just good manners, rather than any sort of imagined fear or supposed hierarchy. I have football, rugby, runners, etc. as students in my classes, and they are far from the Aryan alpha male mentality. Imo, the worst behaved, are clowns whose familiars have money. As a 6'5" dude with a beard that likes to wear camo, I can say I get a lot of assumptions. People think I'm a red hat, I'm scary, and really I just like to smoke weed and go fishing. Well, you can be nice when nobody will run over you. I'm 6 feet 6 inches and 220 lbs. I've been tall my whole life. I have frightened other people at times, when I didn't intend to. I don't want people to be afraid of me for no reason. Hence, I'm a man of few words, and I choose to be as respectful and nice as possible when I can. The reason is confirmation bias. I have quite a few large free earned, so vertical bar, the biggest being an ex-bouncer guy who was drawn into a Superman comic. Not kidding. A vertical bar, the dude is just massive. Vertical bar, he is almost 7 feet tall, and picked up me, and my luggage, and my wife, and her luggage, both at the same time in giant bear hug once. To note, I was about 260 pounds at the time, so this should not have been an easy feat. What I notice when hanging around this guy in particular is that literally everyone is all smiles when he is around a vertical bar. No one starts anything. Not even a peep. He is a super happy dude as well. So it is honestly hard what came first, vertical bar people being extremely happy and all smiles with him, that made him a happy dude, or him just being an awesome dude, and beaming out a smile, and creating the happiness around emo vertical bar. All I know is that he is one of the nicest people I have ever met. Best friends since age 7 vertical bar, even if we live countries apart now. Here's the answer no one will admit is true. Big, giant, huge men are respected by other men just because they're big, whether out of respect or fear. But also, they don't get to see the world's cruel and ugly side as much, because a lot of that comes from someone looking down on you, and not respecting you. Women usually tend to be kinder and nicer to men, who are big and tall, and tend to choose them as partners. These type of men don't see rejection or cruel jokes, whether in pursuit of a job or relationship, being made towards as much as smaller men, and are usually exposed to the nice and wholesome, loving nature of women over and over again. Most of these men find love easily, because at a subconscious level, they feel assured and confident in themselves, knowing people around them respect, adore or are impressed by them, because of their physical superiority. On the other hand, smaller men know they are competing against bigger men for everything: job, status, women. They're used to repeatedly being exposed to rejection, being made fun of, and develop a certain kind of personality which isn't as nice and wholesome as that of men who are bigger. They need to develop this personality to stay in the game, find ways to outsmart and beat competition around them, do things, sometimes unethical, that give them an edge over bigger men. Because at the end of the day, if there's person A and B, both nice and wholesome, both equally educated, but A being smaller than B, the world will always choose person B. Most men are, to some degree, consciously or unconsciously, self-conscious about not being big enough or strong enough, and many men respond to these insecurities by compensating, often through aggression or a need to be alpha, stupid. In word, stupid. In concept, big dudes have nothing to prove, nothing to compensate for, and therefore no need to reaffirm their masculinity or be aggressive. Also, big dudes are nice, because they've spent a long time with people, being intimidated by their size, and they just want people to know they aren't a threat, just because of their size. Maybe most men in general are such good all-around guys, and buffed ones are not exceptional. I guess because we aren't really afraid of much. So we are just easygoing. I've been called big man too many times by people asking me for money. They've sort of hurt my feelings calling me that. No dollar for you, little man. A life with minimal bullying. They never got the good. Kicked out of them 4 years in school. It's middleweight who are aggressive looking to rank up. Guys already on top have nothing to prove. You see this in a lot of situations, not just physical size. They don't get all the shorter men get in the first place. So they don't question themselves as much, and they don't have a defensive attitude, because they don't need it. People rarely give them in the first place. Whereas, if you are short, people always try to get a leg up on you. Mentally and physically. You have to be more aggressive, to not be pushed around constantly. Source, I'm short guy. For the most part you don't have to worry about getting your whooped. I agree that it is about being able to put aside the typical worries most guys have about their looks, their body etc. Big muscle stud handsome guys sort of can put all that aside, and focus on the simple things in life, and many of them don't have to prove themselves, so they can just be nice to even us average guys. So vertical bar. I'm not tall, but I do love bodybuilding. Building muscle is a slow process that involves a lot of discipline and hard work. I think it changes you over time, and the endorphins from working out probably don't hurt. That's my Broshan's assumptions anyway. Also, this doesn't include guys who are hopping on trend and going crazy. That's like a whole other thing, where you are messing with your body's chemicals and dealing with side effects. There are plenty of trend horror stories posted on Reddit, though some of them are lies. It's generally a good idea to check the comments section to see if someone is calling them out for obvious BS. As a 5'5" slender dude. Ouch. Do you know how chihuahuas are normally aggressive, barking and growling when anyone approaches them? That's because they're weak, and try to intimidate possible threats. Big dogs who are aware of their physical superiority don't need to do that. Fatters kinda cherry picking though. Plenty of tiny dog breeds that are very sweet and gentle. Nobody s with them, so they grow up thinking people are fundamentally good. One thing I realized, unfortunately through a series of horrible interactions, is that when you're tall and strong people are very easily afraid of you. Story time. I've always been super respectful and all my friends say I'm the nicest of blokes. One day I had a pretty heated argument with our *at the time very close friend where we argued and yelled at each other. Later I found out through mutual friends that during the entire argument she was terrified that I would physically overpower or hit her. That shook me to my core, because I never saw myself as a threatening presence, or that I could actually make someone afraid like that. Needless to say, violence never crossed my mind and I've never hit anyone in my life and never will. But it made realize that I can't behave myself certain ways because of my stature. Even something as just approaching someone during an argument can be seen as threatening. To counter that, I always try to be the nicest possible. Eventually over time it just seeped into my personality, and being gentle was just the norm for me. I assume other big guys might have similar experiences. Same thing happened to me and my closest cousin in middle school. I walked away thinking it was just a dumb argument, but his mom and my mom made absolutely sure I understood how he felt in that moment. And ever since I have been very conscious about situations like that. Well, we big folk are under a lot of stress from ourselves and others and normally remember the days we were weak/bullied. So many try to help others. Also nothing feel better than being told thanks big guy, nice work big guy etc. Since unless you're ripped like a wall or a pro athlete everyone keeps their distance from you, or gets scared of you. There are other factors like wanting to be the big bear of the group, wanting to show off without being a douche, wanting to mimic the friendly giant role model, etc. Why are big guys under more stress than others? I knew a cop with the LAPD who had a theory why this is. The giants are people no one messes with because they are giants. Go through life with no one messing with you, and where everyone is nice to you, even out of a sense of self-preservation, and yeah, girl be nice too. It is why most giants cannot fight, and can be rather easy for the police to take down. They never learn to fight. You've been visited by the ghost of a very important man. Pay your respects by liking and subscribing, and he'll grant you 3 weeks of good luck.